Hey everybody, it's Michelle Walker Wade coming again with another Get Mobilized moment. A few videos ago, if you go back and look, I posted a video called Leaders Empower Your Team. And in that video, I talked about creating dialogue with I mentioned creating dialogue with your team as a way to empower them. And it is a very important part of empowering your team that you create dialogue. I have a reading. I'm going to read for you. And then, as I always do, I will post the book information at the end of the video. So I'm going to read and then share a little bit. Know when to talk and when to listen. In order to build a business rapport, you'll need to master the skill of judgment. That means knowing when to talk, listen, and comment on what is being said and understood. In other words, you'll need to know how to deliver an effective, meaningful monologue and when to stop talking, and how to make a transition into a dialogue. This is not as difficult as it may first appear. Ask yourself, what does it take for you to listen? What does the other person have to say that is of interest to you? Does it have to be from a credible source? Does it need to pose an interesting or challenging question or thought? Does it have to stir up your imagination? Does it have to elicit a response and then give you a chance to express your opinion? And then there's one other little section in this reading that I want to add. It says, CEOs prompt others to talk by using encouraging sounds and conversational phrases. For example, I see, right, that's interesting. Tell me more about it. You know, as a leader, what you will find is that when you say something, many of your most helpful staff or volunteers won't necessarily engage in a dialogue with you, but they'll instead just take everything you say just as is and will move on it, even if they may have other thoughts or even questions or not sure they understand. They'll just take what they think they hear and just kind of begin to move on it. That's okay if you're running a dictatorship, or if you're running an organization or a business or leading a project where you do not want anyone else's input. However, there are plenty of studies that show that if you want the best outcomes, you need collaboration. And without collaboration, you've got just kind of a one-man show and everyone's just doing what that one person wants. And you kind of end up with an outcome in the end that isn't as good as it could have been had there been dialogue, empowerment, and collaboration with the working relationship between the members that you're working with. And so, as I mentioned before, it is important, if you're going to build a very mature team, that you include time for dialogue. And so this reading is giving some very good points on how to do that. If you heard what I said, it said, in other words, you need to know how to deliver an effective and meaningful monologue. So you'll have a certain time when you as the leader will be able to talk. It needs to be very effective, very meaningful. It needs to be packed with very good language, with good vocabulary, with good points. It should bring out what's of value in this project. It should even name the expected end, the outcome. What is the main goal? What is the driver behind this? What is the motivation behind this? And then at the end of whatever it is, this is what I'd like to see. Even if it's a really big picture, what I'd like to see. Let your team know this is where it's going. This is what I'd like to see. And then after you finish what this author has called an effective and meaningful monologue, then you begin this time for dialogue by starting it with some sort of question or lead-in question or lead-in conversation that then lets the other person, the listener, your staff, your volunteers know it is now your turn to talk. And the better your lead-in question or your lead-in comment, the better the responses you should get. Now, if this is a new activity, if this is a new way of doing business between you and your team, when you first start asking these questions, they'll be kind of thrown and they may not give you any answers. They'll just will repeat what you just said instead of giving you some really good feedback. And if that happens, then of course you've got to be prepared to come with other more pressing questions, questions that continue to encourage them to respond and give feedback that is just as meaningful and useful as your monologue. You'll also have to encourage them. You know what? The floor is open for dialogue. I want to hear what you have to say. And you may even have to encourage them, not to feel bad if something you said they didn't agree with, because you really, really, really need to hear opposing opinions. Doesn't mean you're going to change any of your ideas or concepts, and then again it might, but it's to your benefit to hear those opposing opinions, to hear how something you said may be conceived by a group of people who you're not, may not have thought about. It's just good to hear. It's good to hear. And so you always, initially, until your team is comfortable with dialogue, you always have to kind of probe a little bit more to get some of the responses that you're hoping for. But this author also goes on to encourage you as the leader to make sure you're using language that encourages the dialogue to continue. Once it starts, you want that dialogue to continue. And so, very natural phrases like, okay, yeah, I understand. Oh, yeah, that's good. And whatever is natural for you. I know I've heard some leaders that their members are talking to them. They're going, okay, yeah, right on. When you say right on to the right group of people, that will encourage them to continue talking. So whatever is natural, whatever natural phrases or expressions are for you and the people you work with, that will encourage the dialogue to continue. Don't cut the dialogue off by not encouraging the dialogue to continue. So if you kind of just listen with the stone face and don't give any type of encouraging gestures, the person who's talking will start to feel a little bit uncomfortable or very uncomfortable, because you are supposed to be the superior, and then there's the whole concept that you know more than they know, or there's also a concept that frame of mind that even though you as the leader are asking me to dialogue, you're asking me for my opinion, it's really not important to you. A lot of times when you first start creating this type of engagement between you and your staff, that's the mindset that they will come in, because that's the type of leadership style that many people have worked under. And so you have to almost go out of your way to encourage the dialogue to continue until it's exhausted. And then even still, you may need to come with some additional follow-up questions. Now, if you begin a dialogue and your staff begins talking but they're off topic, you as the leader still need to be able to come with other questions or other comments or something to pull them back on or into focus for what it is that they're supposed to be talking about. And that's why it's very important that during your monologue time that you set what the end goal of this conversation is. In your monologue, and as the conversation, if it drifts away from your goal, the goal of your dialogue, bring it back. Bring it back. Continually remind everyone the purpose of this dialogue. Now, don't say we're going to dialogue today and the purpose of this dialogue. No, you want it to be as natural as possible. So natural and open and organic and comfortable for everyone. Dialogue has to happen in a comfortable setting. So you don't want to go in setting it up as a real case study feeling or clinical feeling. Make it organic, make it natural, okay? And give time for dialogue. Dialogue takes time. It takes time. So if you as the leader, do not have time to let the dialogue engagement happen, just hold off on the conversation, and then when you have time or when you can set aside time, go ahead and start that dialogue. Okay? I hope this has helped you. This is Michelle Walker Wade with another Get Mobilized moment. And again, I want you to prepare to do well and go out and get mobilized. Have a great day.